So what do you mean the real problems are going to start after she comes home? What's China going to do?
Right. Well, Megyn, for weeks, the Biden administration has been leaking to every reporter in town that this was the most dangerous trip ever, and the Chinese were really going to do something crazy. As it turns out, the sky didn't fall. We didn't get into World War III. The Chinese didn't decide to start a war over Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. They were certainly angry about it. It was certainly inconvenient for the Biden administration at a time when they were trying to downplay the tensions in U.S.-China relationship rather than stoke them. They didn't want Nancy Pelosi to go. They thought that this was an ego trip for her, a legacy item to add to her resume, and for them the timing was downright inconvenient. So they begged her not to go in private, and then President Biden blurted out that she was going and that the military was against it. Actually, it was the White House, but close enough for Biden. And boom, now we have an international scandal, and that's just bad. That just makes us look like we don't know what we're doing. You know what I mean? Like, go or don't go, but don't have your dirty laundry inside the Democratic leadership laundered by the president of the United States. And then, of course, the Chinese Communist Party is like, oh, that's great. We're going to pounce on that. We're going to threaten everybody, scare the crap out of everybody. Maybe we can scare into not going either way. We win. So it was just amateur hour over there, between Pelosi and Biden. And that's embarrassing for America. OK, but at the same time, when push comes to shove, we can't let the Chinese Communist Party tell our lawmakers where to go. It's not going to work. I'm sorry. That has to be a firm principle that, if Nancy Pelosi wants to go to Taiwan, she gets to go to Taiwan, and that's that. And don't tell her that, at the same time, the reality is that, while they didn't shoot her down and they didn't, do anything crazy while she was there, they're going to use it as an excuse to turn up the heat on the Taiwanese people, right? The Chinese Communist Party always punishes the weaker party. They don't want to confront us. It's much easier for them to wait till Pelosi goes home. She forgets all about it. She got her photo op, and now they're going to torture and punish the Taiwanese people. And they already did it. They banned 100 Taiwanese export goods in a day, just for the sake of it. They turned off Weibo, which is like, that's how like people there communicate. That's like it's like Twitter plus your text message and WhatsApp all together. And they just turned it off for the whole island of 20 million people just to be, jerks about it. You know what I mean? And that's just the beginning. So, I support, anybody who wants to go to Taiwan. I love Taiwan. I've been there. I'm going there again soon. At the same time, it would be nice if the U.S. could get its act together so that when we do send people to Taiwan, it's not just, let's make sure her plane doesn't get shot down. That it fits into a strategy to help the Taiwanese people deal with what's menacing them, which is an increasingly aggressive Chinese Communist Party that's actingly increasingly crazy and building a crazy war machine in order to eventually attack. That's what their goal is to attack Taiwan when they can manage it. They can't manage it right now, but they're working towards it.
Yeah. So she gets her Yas Queen moment.
Exactly.
And Taiwan is left to deal with the fallout. I mean, that's really the question. Is Taiwan in a better position today than they were prior to her visit?
Right. No, they're much worse off, and they're going to continue to be worse off. Now, that's not to say it's too late. We have Congress could pass legislation to help Taiwan, to support Taiwan, to give them more stuff, the stuff they're going to need when China invades, first of all. We could put more of our the administration could put more of our military assets in the region. They could sell Taiwan more arms. They could get more involved diplomatically. They're not really doing any of that. I mean, they're doing some of it, to be fair, but not enough. And meanwhile, the Taiwanese people are looking 100 miles across the Taiwan Strait at a monster. And with that's building 1,000 new nuclear weapons for what? Why does China need 1,000 new nuclear weapons? Oh yeah, to deter us from helping Taiwan. They're building an amphibious landing force for what? Oh, because they're going to land there. Okay, so this is happening, people. Okay, we better wrap our minds around it. Now, I get and that doesn't mean that we're going to have a war. It means that in order to prevent the war, we have to increase our deterrence. That the Ukraine war should have taught us, in my view, that whatever we thought about deterring these totalitarian, murdering dictators, aggressive dictators like Putin and Xi Jinping, we were wrong. We miscalculated. Somehow he thought he could pull it off. Now, Putin failed because the Russian army is a paper tiger, but the Chinese army is different. Okay, and when they
he hasn't failed yet. He hasn't failed yet.
He hasn't failed yet. That's a really good point. But at least the Biden administration was wrong in that he was going to win in 3 days. But that's a separate issue. But to get back to Taiwan, what that should have taught us is, I asked President Zelensky, I was in Singapore, Megyn, at this conference, and they pipe in President Zelensky onto the big screen. And I got to ask a question. I said, what would your advice be to the people of Taiwan? And he was very clear. He said, you've got to help the small countries before the big country attacks, not after. Once the attack happens, it's too late. So that's why I think that the trip was again, defend her right to go. Absolutely. That's an important principle. At the same time, to just show up, it's not like she didn't sign anything. She didn't bring anything.
What'd she do?
What I mean?
She got her name in a building.
So, and then leave. And now the Biden administration's got to clean up her mess. Okay. And the Chinese are saying, okay, now we've got a good excuse to do all this evil stuff to menace the Taiwanese that we didn't have an excuse for before. So we actually gave them an excuse. So all I'm saying is that the threat is rising, and this situation is getting...
Let me ask you a question about what you said. Because I know Thomas Friedman of the New York Times had a piece the other day saying we need to sort of help Taiwan turn itself into a porcupine. Like, you got to get it now, to sort of what you were saying, not entirely, but he was making the same point of like, now's the time to get them armed to the point where the Chinese would recognize it would be folly to go in there and try to take control. And I've seen others write, that's insane. Just as soon as we start shipping weapons into Taiwan on any increased basis or increasing our military presence in the region, they'll just act immediately. They'll just do it now. Like that, the Chinese, they're not entirely rational actors. They don't seem to be very afraid of us, nor should they be right now. I mean, you could make the argument anyway. We're distracted in Ukraine. Our military is not what it used to be. We can't even meet our recruiting goals, which we're going to get to with Rob O'Neill in a minute. But what's to stop them? Why, if we did something like that, right, shipping a bunch of arms to Taiwan now, wouldn't they just go in now?
Right. Well, they're not ready. Otherwise, I think they would. There's two things that determine when aggressive totalitarian expansionist dictator attacks his democratic neighbor: intent and capability. They have the intent. They don't have the capability. They can't pull it off. They don't have enough. Literally, they don't have enough ships to land. They don't have enough missiles to flatten the place so that nobody's around to say boo. And they don't have enough nuclear weapons to make sure that we don't come to their defense. So they're building those three pillars. You know what else they're doing? They're siphoning off all of their banks. Why? Oh, so we can't sanction them. It's going to take some more time for them. You know what else they're doing? They're hoarding foodstuffs 20 times what they need in all sorts of grains and cassava and soy and corn. And, Chinese people don't even eat cassava. It's not the point. The point is that they're making sure that when the conflict comes, that they're prepared, he's doing it as fast as he can, believe me, Megyn. So we have a small window. Most people think 3 years, maybe 4, maybe 5 on the outside, to arm the Taiwanese to the teeth so they have a reasonable chance of defending themselves, because who knows, A, who's going to be president, but B, if we're going to be able to get there in time, and who's going to make that decision. So the only choice to save Taiwan's democracy is to imagine if we had given Ukraine all those weapons that we're giving them now last year, as many people said that we should. Well, maybe, thousands of Ukrainians would still be alive today. And that's how we have to think about it. Now, there's big problems with that, right? There's a risk that you're going to escalate, that the Chinese are so crazy. I get that. I'm not saying we shouldn't ignore the risks. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it thoughtfully, but I'm saying the bottom line is, as George Washington once said, preparing for a war is one of the most effective means of preserving the peace. Okay. And, that doesn't make it easy, but it does mean that we have to start now, and it does mean the window is closing. Now, we talk about Thomas Friedman's piece. I mean, if I'm remembering it correctly, he said that her visit was reckless. Right. And now I think that's wrong. I think the Chinese response to her visit was reckless. Now, again, I'm not defending the way the administration handled it, but for her to go, he's saying we just can't do that kind of thing. I disagree with that.
Are you tired of feeling like someone's always watching you on the internet? Maybe the advertisers know a little bit too much about you and have got a little too creepy, or you are concerned about the privacy of your identity. Using incognito mode does not solve the problem either. IPVanish VPN is here to protect your right to privacy and to help you stay anonymous online. IPVanish helps you safely browse the internet without exposing your private details to third parties. You can use IPVanish on your computer, your tablet, your phone, even devices like your Fire Stick when you are streaming media. When you use IPVanish, all of your data is encrypted. IPVanish makes you virtually invisible online. It's that simple. And right now, IPVanish is offering an incredible 70% off their yearly plan for our listeners with a 30-day money-back guarantee as well. That is like getting 9 months for free. IPVanish is super easy to use. All you do is tap one button. You're instantly protected. Take your privacy back today with a brand rated 4.6 out of 5 on Trustpilot. Go to ipvanish.com/Megyn and use that promo code Megyn to claim your 70% savings. That's ipvanish.com/MEGYN. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.